that's all about.
Okay, good.
Before I begin, first of all, if you have a cell phone, please put it on silence, and please note that this meeting is being recorded. And I would like to welcome our newest member to the commission, Mr. Jim Joyce. Jim's hit the ground running. He's already engaged in a bunch of things to get himself up to snuff, so welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, I've been looking forward to it, Dwayne.
All right, seeing how it's 6:30, I would like to open up this public meeting of the Woburn Conservation Commission. It is January 25th, 2024, and oddly enough, we do not have any public hearings. So, first on the agenda under business item is LCS Woburn LLC, locus is Delaney at the Vale, EP number 348-826, and it's a request for a minor modification. Before we get into this, first of all, I personally don't think it's a minor change. What they're looking to do is, on the approved plan, there was supposed to be grass, a meadow type of situation, and because they had all of the material from excavating, they decided to put in large riprap. Again, I don't feel that this is a minor change. Number one, I think it's big enough to require peer review. The runoff, the water quality, the stormwater, that's all going to be changed from this change that they did is, I think, something that needs to be looked at. I'm also, just so the rest of the commission knows, I'm not real happy because I go to almost every pre-construction meeting, and I emphasize to no end that if there's gonna be a change made out in the field, please let us know. And this was just done without any notification. The way it came about through us noticing, we had a site inspection. Jerry, Steve, and I went up to the Vale, to Delaney to look at the swales, and there was a lot of trash, and they did some cleaning up. But I really don't believe that this is a minor change, and I'm going to suggest that we have peer review. So with that said, any other commissioners have any comments, questions?
Yeah, so I would echo your concerns, obviously, with the stormwater. That was one of mine as well. I know it was noted here that the stormwater, the area is not a tributary to the stormwater management systems on the Delaney at the Vale site. Well, I'm more concerned with what this, it may not be a tributary, but the water now is running down through the Vale site, which is not the way it's supposed to be handled. I'm curious as to, I'd like to see some calculations on stormwater, how it's changed from what was proposed. I agree that it should be peer reviewed. I have some old renderings, figures of when we were first looking at this site and this project, and it looked, as much as I didn't really like any of what was going on out there, given how much land was being taken to develop. But you know, we didn't have any reason to not approve it, I don't think, and I voted to approve it. But there was also some, you know, the meadow, that was something that I looked at when we were reviewing the project. I also drew in some, you know, on my own material, I drew in a few trees maybe to throw in there. I think we talked about that, and there was some reason why the trees couldn't go there, but it looks nice and green in the renderings, and now it doesn't. And again, the habitat that's going to be changed out there because of this change, vertebrae, invertebrate, is going to be quite substantial as well. So that's where I stand. I agree that this should be peer-reviewed, and the stormwater calculations should be part of that peer review.
Can I just ask a quick question? What you just mentioned, the changes that you just saw, is this in addition to what we kind of talked about at the last meeting? Because wasn't that sort of,
What we talked about at the last meeting in detail, I believe, was the erosion that was going on, and I said they had put like
Yes.
6-inch wattles out, which is really just a Band-Aid. It wasn't, they're not
so
really
then
doing
you
anything.
went after
So
that and
this-
saw more
This happened
concerns?
before all of this.
Okay,
Okay, if you look, as you go in, as you look up the slope, you'll see where the big riprap was, and that was
Right.
all supposed to be grassed.
And it's steep, it's
Yeah.
very steep.
Now, maybe that's a better idea, I don't know.
no, we don't.
But they didn't come before us
Right.
like I asked them to in the pre-construction meeting, and they just went ahead and did it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm also concerned that the runoff there, I believe, the way it's set up is gonna be different than it was intended to be with, because of just all.
I
the
agree,
rocky
there's probably
surface.
not gonna be as much absorption of water.
Exactly.
And as you said, the runoff is gonna be different. So I truly believe and would strongly recommend that, we delay this, request and we get peer review back on board.
I agree.
I'm on board with peer review coming back to look at it.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I think we do have a couple of people in the room
Yep.
here that might want to speak to this.
this is not a public hearing, but out of a courtesy, if there's anybody here that would like to speak on the matter, I certainly would allow you to approach the commission and, say whatever needs to be said.
Chairman, I'd be happy to speak on behalf.
If you would step up and identify yourself for our recorder.
Good evening, Commission and Chairman, George Ryan with Stantec, on behalf of the applicant. So acknowledging it's not a public hearing and the desire to go to peer review, I would just appreciate the opportunity to give a little bit of context on it. So on the riprap slope, the materials that were used were from the site. I think, as we know, is a very ledgy and rocky site. So the grades on that slope, as currently constructed, match the plans, and the project, specifications or plan to grass that would essentially be kind of filling in some of the voids in that rock slope with topsoil, loam, hydroseed, right? So just want to make sure that the commission's clear that that installation of the slope didn't change the grades on the plans. And so the landscaping that would have been done, after that grading was done is what the applicant has requested to leave in its current condition rather than loam and seed. So just for context on whether they had done anything without permission or without notice, that riprap slope would be very difficult to seed, as kind of noted, right? There's a lot of voids in the rocks. There are some hydro seed type of materials with tackifiers that can kind of fill in those voids. It's really important to do that, at a season where you might not be susceptible to erosion, give some of the seed a chance to take. So however peer review and the commission feels on this matter, just to be clear, it's not, necessarily too late, right? That grading and the materials that would be used don't necessarily prohibit that from being done. And on the subject of, stormwater runoff, the riprap slope and the blast rock is a very porous material. As you can imagine, there's a lot of holes and voids in between, which in a lot of ways is good for some runoff. The addition of loam and seed, as I feel, just from a engineering perspective, would probably be more aesthetic than stormwater controls, right? You'd have the runoff, you'd have some absorption into the soil, still very thin layer. A bulk of that runoff that falls on the hill would still permeate through the material that's underneath it. And, that slope goes downhill towards the adjacent property on the north, right? And so it's not anything that falls on that slope is gonna run downhill, you know, rather than be tributary to one of the Delaney systems. Right, so just to clarify where that runoff was going and always would go. The applicant also is proposing to add a tree buffer along that slope, which was not originally included. I believe there's 4 or 5 trees proposed at the top of that slope. Again, I'd say more screening and aesthetics rather than stormwater controls. So I think just understanding, you know, if the conservation wants to go to peer review, that's certainly understandable. You know, some of the courtyard revisions they're requesting as well, especially on the front of the building, remove some of the impervious area. I'd say a very separate issue than the riprap slope, being on-site versus, you know, uphill and eventually down gradient. And just if there's any other questions from the commission on this matter, be happy to try and address them as best I can.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm just trying to think, so you're saying that the riprap that's there now, was that part of the plan originally, or did we just, and then to seed and loam and seed on top of it, was that part of the original plan, or did we just kind of take it on site and just kind of put it there and now?
The grades of that slope match the proposed plans. You know, if you
Okay.
think of site plans, it doesn't necessarily get into subsurface conditions or material to be used, right? 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet below grade. So the materials that were used, that site was all rock ledge, right? And especially at that slope, you know, a stabilized rock slope is a pretty typical application for steep grades to avoid retaining walls, essentially. And so the loam and seed that was proposed, you know, by the landscape architect on the project was, you know, intended, and the contractor understood it to be on top of or filling in the riprap. And, you know, what we got feedback from, you know, towards the end of this season and coming to this meeting from the contractor was just a very, what I would say, kind of legitimate concern about being able to fill in those voids with topsoil seed and have it be stable and not, you know, potentially contribute to erosion. Just any planting of steep slopes can be a little bit difficult, especially with riprap underneath it. So the grades didn't really change from the plans, you know, but really the materials that get used in the processing of on-site materials are more, you know, geotechnical and specification based, maybe more so than site plans. You know, we really just show the surface conditions on the site being proposed. So, you know, I don't know if we really discussed the reuse of materials on site when we were originally going through the hearing with that kind of specificity.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if that was the plan all along, and then now the guy, rather than finishing through to the stage with the loam and seed, he just says, why don't we just leave it, and it might be better off left as is and as opposed to just seeding it, but.
Yeah, that's part of it. And, you know, any project has a fair amount of boring logs. We knew there was ledge up there. The, you know, exact quantity, extent of the ledge is, you know, to the best of our knowledge, known, right? We have to do geotech logs for foundation design, structural design. You don't know exactly how much of that material you're gonna run into and what depths until the earthwork has started. And in this case, there was a lot of ledge up there.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so George, prior to any work being done out there, the slopes were fairly similar. It was sloped, steeply sloped, very well vegetated. So the ledge was always there. There was large trees there. I know it took a long time for those trees to grow. So I'm just curious as to how it would have been decided out there that, you know, instead of knowing how to create a meadow, maybe using a little less stone and more topsoil, or, you know, tiering that slope with other walls. I think that would have worked. It would have been a lot easier, I think, had you come in and kind of talked to us about it prior to. Unfortunately, that wasn't done. And I kind of agree with you that right now, just to throw topsoil on top of that, I agree that I think the grades are okay, but I'm just not sure about, and again, we haven't created a meadow. I liked the kind of the look of that meadow when I was initially working on this. I thought it was at least a good thing. It wasn't going to be all stone or rock or pavement. But, and again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't really understand, when you're talking about it being more porous, I see like, when I see water coming down on that slope, all I see it doing is finding its way to the bottom and then working its way out, which I've witnessed some of that. So,
Yeah, there's still, underlying ledge conditions all along that slope, right? So it's not like any runoff will go through the riprap slope and then into any kind of really pervious material, which would be the case in either situation of the surface treatment. I think to be frank with the commission, when you start off a project, the first thing that happens is a lot of that blast rock removal, material handling, storage. The earthwork contractor follows the plans, sets the grades based on the plans, and landscape is one of the last things that gets done. And so the feedback that we got, and very unfortunate on the timing, from the landscape contractor was just expressing a genuine concern of having that loam and seed be stable. And, the unfortunate reality of it is a lot of that material was placed. It had to go somewhere very early on in the project. Steep slopes, it's a good application of the rock. And landscape kind of happening last. We've even seen that with some of the cleanup on the swales that really should have been seeded. And they kind of made a big push to do that before paving. Jerry and I were out there discussing that. And it's just landscape, which, the meadow and seed would be part of, is really one of the last parts of any project. And that's, the unfortunate reason why we're discussing this,
Well,
now and not
I
sooner.
understand all of that. But let me, just another position that you guys have put yourselves in. If you were here before us for a certificate of compliance, you wouldn't get one, because the approved plan doesn't meet the as-built plan. And I stressed, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face, at the pre-construction meeting, I emphasized these types of changes, and it was totally ignored. It was just, let's go ahead and do it.
Treatment of that slope, and as I said, I don't think it's, too late to find some sort of application that maybe over time can stick. The placement of that riprap and at that slope and at those grades, it doesn't preclude some sort of application. I think it may take some time and some maintenance. And I'll have to kind of speak with some of the landscape contractors, maybe some of their applications that they've seen, and the owner as well. But it's not like that slope would have to be removed if some other type of treatment or surface material would be requested or required there. I think the owner and the landscape contractor kind of asked us to pursue this avenue with the commission for a minor modification. But I don't think that they did anything with the material and the grades that would, really make it impossible, very difficult, cause any of that rock to be removed. It's not a typical meadow grass, where you have, some sandy layers underneath, like a field or a meadow. I think a lot of it may be aesthetic, which is a very, warranted kind of concern. In terms of erosion and stabilization, the riprap is very stable, but of course, understanding how the plans were submitted originally, and some of the aesthetic concerns that we've heard, there's, potentially options that could be explored.
Any other
just,
questions or
just,
comments?
just on the aesthetics and, it's not the same as a meadow with, sand. I'm under the assumption when I'm reviewing things like this, that situation is gonna be created, so, so I don't know that it could or couldn't have been created. Like, did you have to use all the blast rock? Couldn't you have, used smaller blast rock, then smaller stones, sand, and a little loam, with tearing the wall? I think that could have been done. I think that's an option.
Yeah, the tiering of the wall, certainly I think, with respect, probably should have been discussed through that, when we were going through the notice of intent process. And if that was, the concerns about that, the use of materials, I think it's valid. You see something on a plan, you expect it to be created. You hear about contractors' means and methods, that goes both ways. And so that use of the material, again, there was a lot of it. You always try and keep the stuff on site for plenty of, environmental reasons. you know, some of that slope is, you know, not all cut, some of it's fill, right? There's natural underlying materials along some of it. You know, and again, I think the timing with the contractors is really the big concern here with, you know, landscape being done towards the end of the project. And, you know, we got some feedback from them of concerns of being able to viably do this, and that's why the minor modification was submitted.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, again, this is not a public hearing, but my recommendation is that we table the request until we get a report from peer review, letting us know what they think. I'm certainly not an engineer. I don't know what the differences could or are now that we don't have the metal. So that's where I'm at. That's my recommendation. If there's any other thoughts or ideas on how to handle it, I certainly would be open to it.
I'm in agreement of what you said, so.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we seek peer review to look into this requested minor modification. And I think the peer reviewer should be the same peer reviewer that was on board initially.
I agree.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
ask, yeah.
Make
Do I have
that
a
motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Terrific, so we'll get peer review as quickly as we possibly can, get that taken care of, and we'll go from there.
And so the submission would be sent to peer review as is for comments, requests for additional information, whatever, maybe data or stormwater results that the peer reviewer thinks would be warranted in this case?
Yeah, I would ask that you said, I mean, if you can send me electronically information that you think would be pertinent to the review on this. And if there are other options that you're, you know, thinking of or you want to talk to your clients about and the landscapers, and if there is like an alternative that you'd like considered, you know, go ahead and submit that, because I don't want to have like send it to peer review and then have you say, well, actually, we came up with this other thing that we think may be even better.
Right.
So I can certainly hold off on sending it unless you say like, you know, send me what you want. Send me what you want me to send to the peer reviewer. I guess that's what I would ask, because then we're not kind of going around in circles on it.
Okay, understood. Some of the concerns of the commission are mostly stormwater related.
Well, I think that's probably the most, I guess it's the most jurisdictional that we have. But also the fact that, you know, we don't have that meadow. I want to see it. I'd love to see a meadow. I mean, it makes a huge difference from a habitat standpoint. And as well, it probably has some effect on the drainage as well.
Okay, understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. Mark Doobie, request for permission to allow tree removal at 3 Mentor Circle, which is off of Pool Street. Just so the commission knows, Steve, Jerry, and I went out, talked to the homeowner. What we, at that time, were hoping we would get was the actual marking of the trees that were gonna be removed, and a different marking for trees that were going to be trimmed. We didn't quite get that, but we did get photographs with X's through the trees that want to be removed. There has come to light a conservation restriction.
So yes, there is a conservation restriction over the portion, the wetland portion of that property where the trees currently are.
And in part, it says in that there should be no removal of vegetation and trees. Cutting, removing or otherwise destroying trees, grasses, or other vegetation. So this makes things a little bit more complicated. I'm open for discussion as to how people feel we should move forward with this. There are some trees, I will admit, there are some trees, not all of the trees, but there are some trees that could be a threat to the house. But I count, in the cover letter, I count under proposed work, I count 12 trees that they're requesting to have come down. I don't know if all 12 need to, but there are some that could endanger the house.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I did go out there with yourself and Jerry, as I mentioned. There's a lot of property out there. Just the curveball with the restriction. We have a package, and this is my initial thoughts. This is just a gut reaction. 12 trees are involved. They need to be marked. You knew I was gonna say that from the beginning. They gotta have the ribbon so we can count the 1 to 12. We know what we're talking about. We did talk about trimming, and I see 12 removals. So 12 removals versus the trimming we talked about. I'd like to revisit that. And then I'd like to know which one of those trees are in the conservation restriction that we can't touch anyway. So we have to do a site visit, it's a long story short. We can't do this by pictures and by this. And I'd like to bring the trimming back to the table, and the last point is, of the ones that we did say are safety issues and are a concern, and we agree that's common sense, and the, trees don't look healthy and what, are they gonna keep the base or they're not gonna keep the base? Because removal to me is everything. Removal is removal, right? So there's a lot here. This is a big project. This is a big project.
Yes?
So I think we need a site visit.
Any other?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on the paperwork from the tree company, Marquee Tree Service, I didn't see any notes as far as, certain trees being in poor health, more susceptible to, falling and things like that. Because from the pictures, a good fair amount of those trees look in good health. I mean, just,
Right.
By me looking at the pictures, that's just me. I'm not an arborist.
Well, would you,
But, and they appear to be good distance from the house itself, so that, I'm just wondering, like.
well, would the commission entertain doing another site walk and, maybe come up with a solution as to what trees could come down that seem to be a danger to the house, versus all 12?
I'd like to do that, because I'm amenable to any tree removals that may be a danger to the property.
I am
but-
too.
But I'd like to get eyes on the restrictions, so we know what we can and can't do, and maybe we can come up with a better plan.
And we need to figure, if any of the trees that are in danger for the house are in that area, we gotta figure out how do you deal with that.
What I would like to see is maybe a bucket lean over the property, and leave stumps that are maybe 8 or 10 feet tall.
I thought that's what was discussed at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. And I think the homeowner is very reasonable. He just wants to get the job done. He just
Yeah.
wants to do the right things here. He's looking for our guidance, so as far as that goes there. And I think that at the end of it, no matter how this comes out, it's gonna cost less money. This is a very expensive thing, so we're gonna end up doing something that's gonna be more reasonable, it's gonna be pleasing, I think something he's gonna be pleased with, and at the end of the day, it's not gonna cost so much money. There's a lot of money here.
So do we want to schedule a site walk?
Well, yeah, I think we should, but let me just add a couple of things here. So there is an exception to the restriction as far as cutting trees. And if everybody has it, it's in the second page under B, number 2, selective cutting of trees for fire protection, tick control, or otherwise to preserve the present condition of the premises, including vistas, which I don't think this falls into either. I can go along with the safety part of it, but, and given the fact that it's, most of the tree cutting is in a wetland, or at least probably in the wetland, I think most of it is. We can make a determination maybe of that when we get out there, but I think we should be looking at a minimum, an RDA here.
All right, any suggestions for a date?
And just, can I just, I'm sorry, just one other thing, I'm sorry. We should probably require the applicant to get an arborist opinion on the health of the trees.
Okay,
I thought that was already
Yeah,
done.
I thought we did discuss that
Yeah.
at the last meeting.
That
Yeah,
was
no,
a
I don't
different
see it.
property.
The commission hasn't received that, though. The
that's
commission
not-
received a quote for doing the work,
Right,
but not
it's,
a report from an arborist on the health of the trees.
Oh, I thought somebody had said that it was agreed that they weren't healthy.
I think you
That
might be
was
thinking.
that was a different property.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
We've had a few recently.
And I think it is a valid point to require a filing for this, given that the work is proposed actually in a wetland. So an RDA is the simplest type of filing that's available. It'd be helpful to have the commission give some direction on what should be filed.
I would move that we seek the applicant file a request for determination of applicability.
Second.
all in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so let's,
Mr. Chairman, before we go out and do the site visit, do we need the health of the trees first? Are we putting,
say that again?
We could request that as part of the filing. I mean, I can reach out to the property owner and let him know that they'll need to file a request for a determination of applicability and ask as part of the filing to provide a report from a certified, Massachusetts certified arborist.
and,
I would say at that point is when we should schedule.
thank you, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
Let's get that first, then go out there and know what we're looking at. These are 12 trees.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
Yep.
anyways,
So that's good with me. It's gonna take them time
Let's
to
wait
get
till we have the
the
facts.
filing together.
correct.
So you're saying wait until the
Wait,
IDA
yeah.
comes in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Good idea.
so we'll have them do an IDA. Once that comes in, then we'll do the sidewalk.
Right.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Just one question.
Yep.
So as part of the RDA, does the arborist report fit into that RDA? Will that be an artifact in the RDA?
So, yes, that would be like an attachment or,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
We're
Mr.
gonna
Chairman,
need to take a little time to have some of you guys read the minutes we just received. We can come back to.
Mr.
site-
Chairman?
Can we do it the next
Can
meeting?
can we either do it at the next meeting or do it at the end of the evening? Is that
Yes.
okay? Okay.
The minutes?
Yes.
Yes. So I see Mr. Melanson and his representative with him, so if nobody objects, I'd like to move down to 4A.
Mr. Chairman,
What
if I may
about-
interrupt again, I'm sorry. I'm wondering if we have the folks at 45 Dartmouth Street?
Oh, are they here?
Okay.
okay.
Sorry. Okay.
All right, so, under item 4, encroachment, Brian Melanson with Locust is 5 Robinson Way. We did a site walk, I think everybody was there, but John.
I couldn't make it.
We looked at the trees that were in question, and I think we all agreed that the trees should stay. It would be more disruptive. I think we agreed out at the site that at least 3 posts with conservation conservation area being defined. Part of the driveway, part of the garden would be moved off of conservation land. Mr. Savati, is that pretty?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The way I have it, and the letter that was signed by the homeowners and myself says the cedar trees and wood chips currently located in the encroachment shall be allowed to remain. The portion of the cobblestone driveway currently encroaching on the conservation area shall be removed and shall remain its natural condition. The garden area that encroaches into the conservation area shall be delineated by a granite post with a sign identifying the land as part of the conservation area. The property line between 5 Robinson Way and the conservation area shall be delineated by not less than 3 granite posts with one sign identifying the conservation area to be clearly visible. And the owners shall not make any other encroachment. So I believe that meets the intent of the meeting out at the site, although I wasn't there, but I think I got a pretty good idea of what the commission was looking for. So with that, I'd be glad to take any questions on that submittal.
But were we
Referring to
okay
the
with the
commission.
garden area?
Yeah, the only
Leaving it
question,
the way
that
it
was kind of my question.
Yeah.
The garden area that
Thought that was
encroaches
changing.
shall be delineated by a granite, like, why would the garden area be delineated by anything, I guess?
I think it goes,
Ryan?
I think the lot line went through the garden, correct? And we're
Yeah.
gonna move it over?
My recollection, my understanding at that meeting is we wanted posts on like either end of the garden so that we could clearly see the delineation from 5 Robertson Way and the Conservation Commission land. And then there would be no intrusion, no anything going on,
But I
like
mean-
natural conservation.
Right.
To be touched.
But aren't there some timbers there?
Right.
So are those going to be removed?
You tell me.
Oh, yeah, I
thought
think
we-
they
I thought we were gonna delineate and then not touch anything, not disturb anything, not touch anything.
No, I think, that's not kind of how I
Okay,
saw
okay.
it, as
Yeah.
removing whatever is encroaching.
Okay,
And then the 3 posts,
yeah.
one at the beginning, maybe one at the end, and one in the middle.
Okay.
Is that what everybody else kind of
That's what I thought, yes.
Thought things went.
All right.
Yeah, no, I just while you're here, Brian, too, I thought the meeting was productive, and I appreciate you cooperating with us. I think, first of all, I think it's always been well-maintained, that was never an issue. So, and I think going forward, I do appreciate having this in writing, because it's, these come up often. And I think now, at least by us handling this, we kind of have a blueprint of how to proceed forward with some of these other situations we may have. So this may be, this is a good start for us anyway, so I do appreciate your cooperation on this matter.
So I'll adjust number 3 and resubmit with the signatures. Is that fair?
Yes?
Can I also make a comment on just the wording, like if you're going to modify this, where it says the cedar trees and wood chip mulch currently located in the encroached area shall be allowed to remain, maybe to reword that, if the commission is allowing the cedar trees and the wood chips, I don't know, I didn't hear discussion on the wood chips, but if they're allowing them at this point, but it shouldn't be worded so that it sounds like they're to remain in perpetuity. I mean, if the commission at some point in the future wanted to remove this, there should be an understanding that that's not, so I
I'd be
think
glad to
maybe,
take,
so I
if you want
think-
to send me
I think-
edits.
Excuse me.
so I think maybe
all-
to rephrase to say, that
That's in the edits.
that the commission is not requiring the property owner to
At this-
remove, if that's the will of
like
the
that.
commission.
And you weren't gonna, nothing would be added.
Correct.
I remember you saying that.
Like,
Yeah, we're not,
And no additional encroachment, or no
Yes.
future encroachments.
we're not going to maintain the trees, we're not going to put any more mulch down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I will edit
We're
that as
hoping,
well.
kind of hoping that it kind of naturalizes by doing
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, just to be clear, I'm gonna take out those timbers with the encroachment on the conservation, we're talking about the garden.
Garden.
The stones, take them out too,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and just leave it.
Yeah, and, maybe on Conservation Day, if we have a project, then we might go up there and do some seeding or something, but yeah.
Yep, okay.
Okay. All right, I'll edit it and send it back. I don't know, can you approve it with the agreed edits, or do we need to do anything else, or? I don't think we need to come back.
I don't think you need to come back, I
I
think.
don't think so.
All right, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, I would approve it subject to the changes that we have
Yeah.
approved.
Thank you.
And it's our understanding that you wanna send it up to the city solicitor's office for the blessing of
Yes, so when you have that,
Send it right to her.
revised letter, yes, send it to me, and you can copy it to the law department, and I will also follow up with the law department, so that
Okay.
everybody's clear.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
All right, you wanna go back to number 3 or number 5?
Well, because 3 isn't here, so.
You can go to 3, I guess. It doesn't matter, I don't
Might as
think.
well.
3 probably.
Yeah, so we can do, we could do 3, because it's quick.
So next on the agenda is violations and encroachment. Kevin Ruderman and Nicole Forbes. Locus is 45 Dartmouth Street, DP number 348-303.
So I can let the commission know that I did hear from the property owners, and they are unable to come tonight, but they have engaged the services of consultants who are working on a plan. My understanding is that they'll have the plan hopefully Monday to submit. And the consultant did ask for additional information. They were supposed to have it in this month, but they asked for additional time so that the commission could discuss it at hopefully the February 8th meeting. So I think that's a completely reasonable request.
Okay.
They have done a site visit already. They are in process of putting a plan together, and they are anticipating submitting it soon and hopefully Monday.
Great.
So I think if the commission is, if the commission would make a motion to, give an extension of time to allow the plan to be submitted, that would be helpful.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Down to number 5, the issuance of order of conditions, James Giuliano, 43 Pool Street LLC, locus is 43 Pool Street. Notice of intent, DP number 348-855, for a residential 4-lot subdivision. And this was closed on January 11th, 2024. We have a draft that we had in our package. I've been through it. I don't think I made any changes or notes. So, open for discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The one thing that we need to discuss is page 15.
The amount,
Yes.
I saw that yellow, so.
Be green.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
That's gold. I don't,
How do you usually set that?
well, we should, at some point in time, maybe we should have a discussion about how we want to do it, as far as, one house is this, 2 houses, 3 houses, have a, kind of a table. I was thinking that, and I asked Teresa, like, maybe what an as-built might cost, because in order to get a certificate of compliance, you need an as-built, so, I mean, I'm thinking, like, my thought was like between 5 and 10, and maybe something in the middle, but that's just me. 1,000.
It's hard to really know. That seems reasonable to me.
Oh, I think, yeah.
I mean, it could be on, I mean, most of the work is, like, the homes with the infiltration, we didn't require that.
Right.
They volunteered it.
Right.
Most of what we're looking at is, it's kind of outside of
Yeah, right.
our jurisdiction.
So we want this just to
Kind
cover
of
the work that we expect, and then we'll release it
Gets
when
released,
what we want done.
Right.
Is that accurate?
it's like, it's a little incentive, I guess,
Yes.
to, yeah.
To
So you
finish.
want to make it some good amount of money, otherwise it's like, what do I care?
Right.
I'd be okay, I mean, I agree with Jerry, I think you know, between 5 and 10, I'm okay with 7,500. That's about, I think there's 3 lots, 2,500 a lot. Like you said, a lot of it's out of our jurisdiction. And I think that's reasonable. I don't think that's not being unfair, so. I'd make that motion that we set the bond escrow at 7,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
Terrific. Do we have something to sign?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that
Well,
we
once- yeah.
issue the order of conditions as drafted and amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
Who made that second? Sorry.
If everybody
Commissioner
wants to
Tancredi.
pull out their minutes and take a quick look at those, we can wrap that up as well.
Oh, Jesus. Thank you. Yep.
Sorry.
Oh. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, are we on a pause, or can I bring something up? We just stay on, should I wait till she gets back?
If it doesn't disturb people reading,
Oh, all right. With reading the minutes?
yeah. I got here early, so I read them when I got here.
All right, I'll wait.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we have a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are in Any discussion, any changes?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the meeting minutes of January 11th, 2024 as drafted.
Second.
Second by Pauline, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
All right, I have one last thing. On Tuesday, was it, Jerry? You got the call
Tuesday, yes.
from Jay Duran?
Yes.
There's flooding going on behind some of the houses on Lexington Street
I've been seeing
and
the work
Garden
out there.
Street.
Willow.
Down near Marauder Lane, correct? Close to-
Across the street,
Yeah.
like on Garden Street, actually, some of
Oh.
the houses behind Garden.
Really?
And then when you take a right on to Lexington, the houses there on Lexington behind, and then Willow, it's all in that little,
Well, there's that little brook there.
They've been on the other
Right.
side of Lexington Street with the DPW trucks.
well,
They were there today.
Yeah, they were there last
And that,
week.
that's what we're gonna be acting on.
Okay.
So Jerry called me, we went out and looked at the situation, and there is, quite a bit of water in behind those houses. There's gotta be a block somewhere, and,
Bless
DPW
you.
suggested that it was at the pipe that flows out into the stream. Greg came out from engineering and we lifted up the manhole. There's a manhole, right across the street from one of the houses, what was it, 17?
no, 117.
117.
Yeah.
And then right there where the brook actually is, the manhole cover that's just outside the brook, we opened up and there was no movement at all. So there's gotta be a blockage somewhere. So DPW asked for an emergency certification, which Jerry and I did sign, but we need a motion to ratify it and the rest of, the commission needs to sign it.
Make that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Do we know if they got anywhere with it after
They,
that?
we gave them a few days, but they told us in their description that it would be 1 to 2 days. And I did see erosion controls like they said they would do and sandbags, so, hopefully they got most of the work done today and, depending on how much rain we get tonight,
Yeah, supposed to get some more.
Yeah.
We need one of those trash collectors on the other side of the pipe to catch all this debris.
Yeah.
I already saw.
So, so that brings me to my question. Do we have to, once they're completed, do we have to go back and take a look and make sure that it's done and it's flowing and,
Yeah, we can do that.
can we do that?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'd be interested
And
to
then we
see
can
the
look
area.
at the debris collector.
That's right.
I went by there today, and there wasn't much in there, so.
Oh, there wasn't?
I don't know.
You probably got it
There's a
all.
lot in the catch, the manhole.
Oh, I bet there, I bet there was.
So, does anybody else have any other issues to bring before the commission?
I have one, and I just want to bring it up as a concern and an idea, and then for discussion. So the concern is, it's along the lines of when you see something, say something. So we did a site visit at Robinson. We look across the street. We know that we've had issues across the street as well. There's a likely violation. I can't say there is one until we go out there and confirm and all that stuff, but there appears there could be a violation is the correct way to say it. So I think there's a concern across the street, and I'm not sure about proper procedure. The idea I had in my head is perhaps the residents contacted, we schedule a site visit, we go out there, we take the pictures, then we come back and discuss and see what we think, and then go from there. So I'm not sure of the procedure there, but there certainly seems to be something going on there that perhaps should be addressed.
Isn't that the property we already looked at and gave
Yeah, we-
notice to?
We actually did check on the site. The gentleman that owns the home came in,
Yeah.
told us how the encroachment came to be, and then there was gonna be some work done to
Undo it.
undo it. not really undo it, but just
Just no longer.
delineate
Yeah.
his property line. And that is where we're at. And I think we gave him, I'm not sure. the
That was a
timeframe we
while
gave.
ago that he was here.
Pardon me?
In the fall,
It's
or
been a
like
while
nice
since
weather.
we did look
so,
at
yeah.
that, so something,
I thought he was gonna do plantings along the property line, and that way it was clearly marked.
Right.
And then the property that is ours, that does not belong to him, just leave that alone.
Right, and then you don't normally would say, like we've done in the case of Milance and the 3 granite posts, we didn't say 3 granite posts, we said as long as you put up the plantings, as long as there's a delineation there and all that stuff, so if
That I
everybody's
don't remember.
satisfied, then we should wait till the
Well,
spring and check
we'll
it.
keep our eye on it, because having looked at it the other day, it looks like it's still being maintained.
Right.
That is the issue.
So-
And that's definitely the issue. I guess we'd have to go back to the minutes
Yeah, because
to
I
that,
don't remember what
to
we
see
said.
what the time frame was, and if that time frame has come and gone, then yeah, we should do some.
re-notify, yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I would suggest is now that we have kind of a plan with the abutting property, once that's completed, I think maybe would be a good time to go, once those are installed and in, then we go and say, this is what we want, and you have so many days to get it
Yeah,
done.
that sounds good.
Right, so we wait. We
And then
table.
there's no argument.
Yeah, because we want to be
Keep
consistent.
that
Right.
property in your
Right.
book, and when it's time to bring up, we'll bring it up again.
It's in ink. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
satisfied. Thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hearing nothing else, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions?
What'd you get?
Terrific, thank
So
you.
in case you're not aware, that's
7:28?
Steve.
7:28?